Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of NinaRibena's Art Journal Prompts and More. It's November and so time for a new prompt. Now, of course, we had so much fun last month with the Inspired by prompt, and I know that many of you really enjoyed finding out about new artists, and so I want to try and keep the momentum going. So this month I thought we'd take a slightly different track and find out about different art styles. So the challenge this week to kick things off is Pointillism. Now, Pointillism, sorry, I've had to turn my internet connection off because the kids keep texting me and messages keep popping up, so I can't get rid of that, unfortunately. But Pointillism is art that is created using small dots. So this is a classic example of Pointillism. Now, I don't want anybody panicking here, thinking that they've got to create artwork with tiny, weeny dots. We're going to do our interpretation of it. And just to show you some examples, I mean, here is, I'm on Pinterest here, by the way. Here's another example of Pointillism, dot art, another one here. And, I'm not suggesting that we use tiny, weeny dots either. We can get creative with this, and I'm going to give you some suggestions as to what you can use to do this. Here's another one. I just absolutely love that. I think that's beautiful. So really try and think outside the box with this. I hope that you can see these, that the images are coming up large enough for you to be able to see. Let me just click on that one again. No, it's not going to have anything of it. Probably because I'm not on the internet. But, here's another example. That was sort of more mandala style, like the dot art that we were doing a few months ago, which I know you either loved it or you hated it. But let me just put this to one side because I've got some ideas as to how we can create our dots. I've got lots of things here that we might be able to use to speed things up a bit because, I don't want people sitting there for days creating tiny weeny dots. Bubble wrap, of course, sprung to mind. Our stencils as well. I've got various stencils here. This was one that Mika cut herself and made for me and sent in Happy Mail. This is out of a ready meal, I think. My mother-in-law sent me that. I've got a couple of the Dilutions dot stencils here. Another Creative Expressions mini dot stencil. I've also got a natural sponge. This has got natural dots and bubbles in it. So I thought, that that might be something that we could use. Of course, Q-tips. If you bunch a load of Q-tips together, then, you can create dots very, very quickly by using those. I've got a couple of stamps as well with circles on. So again, those could be layered to create dots too. And also some of my dotting tools. I've got various sizes of dotting tools and styluses as well that could be used. So lots of different options. And also don't forget that polka dot paper, if you decided to go down a collage route, would be perfect. I used two different dotty stencils to build up the layers in my background. I'm starting off by using the Dilutions Dotty Flower stencil, and I'm applying Distress Oxide ink with a blending tool. This colour is Wilted Violet, and my intention here is just to use a couple of different colours. I think I used 3 in the end, just to build up some layers. I'm adding some smaller dots here using a piece of food packaging. This is just the bottom piece of plastic out of a ready meal. And again, here I'm adding another colour. This time I'm using Iced Spruce, and I just repeat the layers using those 2 stencils. This colour here is shaded Lilac, and then I think I come back in with the Wilted Violet just to add a bit more depth. Now my focal image is going to be a vase full of flowers, so I'm just cutting myself a template. I've folded a piece of mixed media paper, a scrap piece of paper, in half, and I'm just cutting myself a vase. And the reason I'm doing this is that I'm just not very good at drawing symmetrically, so this is a nice easy cheat. Now, once I'm happy with the shape and size of my vase, I use the negative as a stencil to add the vase to my page. You'll probably notice once I remove the stencil that there is a darker patch at the bottom of my page. I wanted a ground, something for my vase to sit on so that it wasn't suspended in thin air. So I added some more dots using the two stencils with faded jeans just to add a deeper layer at the bottom of the page. I'm using acrylic paints. These are just craft paints which are quite runny to add the blooms to my vase, and I've just put them onto a plastic plate and I'm applying the paint using bundles of cotton buds. I'm using groups of 4 which I'm holding together with some kids loom bands, and I'm just using a dotting action, just building up those layers and drying in between as I need to. I decided I wanted to add a hint of some leaves in the blooms. I do end up covering this up at a later date because I just don't really like the way that it looks. But you know, that's the good thing about using acrylic paint. If you don't like something, just cover it up. I'm also not happy with the colour of my vase as well, so I just keep bringing that template back in to alter the colour. Now, I've photocopied my page and I've cut the vase and blooms out so that I can use it as a mask to enable me to add some splatters to my background, and this just helps to add a few more dots to the background and pull everything together. And I'm also darkening the base for my vase to sit on as well. Now here's my finished page, and I've made a couple of alterations. The blooms and the vase weren't quite large enough, and so I've just added just a little bit extra, made the blooms bigger, added a bit extra to the vase, and it just looks more in proportion now to me. I've also changed the colours of the vase as well, just because it just didn't look right, and so I just went over it with some more dots, mainly in purples, white and the magenta, a little bit of the peach as well, and that looks much better. And you can see I've just added more of the white dots using a Q-tip. I don't want to add any kind of quote, but what I do want to do is add some dimensional glue to my vase, and I'm having trouble with this. I bought some more glossy accents, but do you think I can find it? And diamond glaze is just not thick enough. Now this tub here is broken, the collar is cracked, excuse me, and I had decanted it into one of these bottles here, but my pin has turned it all black, so I don't want to run the risk of ruining my painting, so I'm going to give this a go. Let me just see. I'll have to be really careful, and I'm just going to apply some dimensional glue to my vase. So I'm just going to do it in a backwards and forwards motion until the whole of the vase is full with dimensional glue, hoping that I don't get too many bubbles with this. I do find that the Mod Podge dimensional glue is just a little bit temperamental. I prefer glossy accents. So I'm just going to continue doing this. It's self-leveling, so it won't go over the edge of my vase, but you do need to make sure that you cover all of the areas. So just slowly does it, and then I'm just going to have to let this sit to dry. So here's my finished art journal page. Now the dimensional magic is not quite set, but I'm going away for a long weekend, so I need to get this video uploaded, so I can't wait any longer. But you can see that it's pooled slightly in this area here, and it's still cloudy, so you know that means that it's not quite set underneath. But I just think, you know, once it's gone clear and dried completely, it will be really, really pretty. Just look at that. I think that will add a really pretty effect to my page. I've also added a few more dots as well. My dimensional magic dripped as I thought it might, just because the collar was cracked, and I was able to wipe it off, but I needed to put another dot here just to cover it up, and that's slightly darker than the others, but you know, hey ho, that's just one of those things. So just to recap on this month's prompt, we're doing different art styles this month, and this week's challenge is Pointillism, so pages and artwork created using small dots. So as I said at the beginning of the video, get creative with this. Think bubble wrap, stamps, stencils, all of that kind of thing, you know, stamps with dots, bubble wrap, anything just to create your dots, and of course Q-tips as I've done here. I was also thinking as well that we were studying Wolf Kahn and his wonderful, beautifully simplistic landscapes last week, and that would lend itself beautifully to Pointillism, so you know, something to consider. So you know, let's see if we can get as many different creative styles with this as we possibly can. Now if you enjoyed my page this week, as always, I'd appreciate a thumbs up, because it really does let YouTube know that you like what I'm doing, and let me know what you think in the comments below. And take care everyone, I'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.